Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I have some time at 5:01. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Effingham County Board of Commissioners. My name is Jamie Deloach. I am the Vice Chairman. Our Chairman, Wesley Corbett, is out of town on vacation, so I will be presiding over this meeting. If all of you would please stand with me while I say a prayer, and please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag after that. Dear Lord, thank you for our many blessings. Thank you for everyone gathered here today, and please help us to do your will through this meeting. And dear Lord, we ask that you be with our world leaders during this time, and please keep our first responders and police officers safe. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll move on to our agenda approval. Consideration of a resolution to approve the agenda. I know there are a couple of changes.
Yes, sir. Those changes are, we will need to remove item number 4 under old business. That item is no longer needed. We also need to withdraw old business number 1 and 2.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 4 of old business need to be removed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there are no other changes at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve our agenda with the said changes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda with the said changes by Commissioner Floyd. I have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Our agenda is approved.
Mr. Chair, oh, you just pulled yours. You can pull your mic in, Ms. Middleton.
Oh, can you hear me?
Just want to make sure that the recorder picks it up and they can hear on the call.
Okay. Moving on to our minutes. Consideration to approve the October 6th, 2020 regular commission meeting minutes. Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns about those?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for October 6th. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve the minutes as presented, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, minutes are approved unanimously. Just like to remind everyone to keep the public comments to the agenda items only. Documents for this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. I see we have a public appearance this afternoon by Mr. Richard McCormick at 5:10. It's now 5:05. Would we be okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McCormick, if you'd like to approach microphone and just state your name for the record, please. And
Yes, my name is Richard McCormick. I live at 181 Hutchinson Lane. It's off the courthouse, off of Patterson. And the problem I have, since we had to freeze, okay, that Hutchinson Lane and part of Patterson is coming up. And it's real bad. It's tearing up automobiles. You got your garbage trucks going down there. And it's just every day it gets worse and worse. And I've been trying to get somebody to come out there and at least talk to me about it. And I talked to Mr. Loper, and he accepted my phone call, and we talked about it on the phone. And I know one man can't do it by himself. I understand that. He's got to go through y'all. But my other neighbors, they wanted to come down here with me, and I said, no, y'all stay home. Let me come and talk to them first, see what's going on. Because it needs to get fixed. I know y'all, they fixed right at courthouse. The four-way stop. They fixed this side, this side, this side. They didn't fix the other way. So they could have come fix that road. They fixed Mott Road, and Mott Road was a whole lot better than what ours is. And I just wanted to see if I could get some input on, somebody could come out and look at it and give me an idea, or so I can get the neighbors know what can be done about it, because it's terrible.
Okay. Mr. McCormick, I will tell you, the roads that you just referenced, that was funded by our LMIG funds that we get from the state every year. And to our knowledge, we cannot use those funds on ash roads at this time because Patterson and Hutchison Lane are ash, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And not that we can't do something about it, and I do agree we should at least be able to get somebody out there and take a look at it.
Well, they worked on that first part of Patterson when you come off the courthouse. They came out there and put some stuff down, but it's coming back up. So, you know, if we could just get somebody to come out and look at it and see what we're having to go through. You know, we pay road taxes and everybody out there pays their taxes, and we just want somebody to give us an idea of what's going on. That's all I'm here for.
Okay, well, I'll definitely commit to at least getting somebody out there.
All right, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank y'all very much for hearing me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCormick. Tim, if you can just help remind me to, let's try to get somebody to take a look at it at some point.
Yeah, we have, and I can give you the report that we've discussed it with DON on it. I mean, the road itself is, as a whole, it has some rough spots, but as an ash road goes, it's not so bad. It's the areas that he had mentioned, which were that were the roots coming up, which are going to create an issue for us. How exactly you fix that on an ash road is going to be tough.
Okay, but we have at least.
Yes, we
Take a
do.
look at it. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, moving on to our next section of our agenda, which is the consent agenda. And we have 3 items on that. I'll go ahead and read those. Item number 1, consideration to approve a lease agreement between Effingham County and the Effingham County Board of Education for housing of the Extension Office. Item number 2, consideration to approve the 2021 holiday calendar. And item number 3, consideration to approve to submit a grant application to the Rochelle Ray Save Them All Grant Fund. If I don't hear any questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve as read. Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve the consent agenda as presented. I have a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Consent agenda passes unanimously. We're moving on to our old business section now. Item number 1, item number 2, and item number 4 have been removed from our agenda. So we will start with item number 3 of old business. Consideration to approve the first reading of an amendment to Part 2, Chapter 14, Article 5, Telecommunications Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of Effingham County.
So, as you probably know, the current telecommunications regulations reference only zoning districts I1 and B2 in reference to allowing, permitting telecommunications towers. And that has led to any tower application that comes in, usually it's going to AR1 land, and it seemed like it was requiring us to rezone the lease tower area, the tower lease areas to I1 or B2. B2 for Monaco, I1 for the lattice tower. And that's led to a lot of confusion about whether commercial and industrial zoning districts were increasing throughout the agriculture, the AR1 areas. The solution that we've come up with is to allow telecommunications towers as a conditional use in AR1 and AR2, so that it still comes before you it comes before staff for review, it comes before the planning board and board of commissioners for review and approval, and that way you're still getting to consider it. However, the land where the towers go will not be rezoned. It will no longer have little spots of I-1 and B2 scattered around the agricultural, the rural areas. Instead, it will just be a conditional use with, conditions will be attached, the review will go on as usual.
But other departments can also become aware, whether it be the tax assessor's office, it's just a way to.
Yes, after every action by the Board of Commissioners, the zoning map amendment that the chairman signs is sent to the tax commissioner's office, and they attach those to the parcel information. We have access to that, so we can see that they've actually added documentation, and they can add the fact that it's conditional use. So it's connected to several departments.
So we can still put it in AR1 and AR2, but it'll come through us.
It'll come through you the way it always has, but it won't be rezoned, so we'll no longer look at a map and see little spots of I-1 and B2 popping up.
Do we stipulate a particular area? Well, you say it was a 100-acre tract. Is that important or not? Or we just, it allows one tower
It
for
will,
that.
most likely they're going to look at where they need it. There may be a particular location, but from what I've seen, they seem to like to be close-ish to roads. So it may be a large tract, but it may not. It may be 10 acres, it may be 100 acres. And then within that, there are requirements in the current ordinance and our proposed revisions that will address setbacks and clarify some of the conditions about setbacks, about the site plan, about the information they provide in the site plan too. We want more information around the surrounding area. Again, it could be that we get a request for one in a remote section of a large tract, but from what I've seen, they do seem to be close to roads. I mean, these companies want easy access to the lease areas as well.
And if I can add a couple of things on this, as a conditional use, it becomes subject to conditions set by the board. Similar to the previous rezoning that we had. But also, we wanted to get this one taken care of simply because we thought it was time sensitive, because we had someone who wanted to rezone a property to I, but that one has been withdrawn. However, we are looking more globally at this zoning to see what uses, additional conditional uses we can put in AR zoning that traditionally are uses that go into more rural areas. So you don't have to rezone a dirt mine I and some of the other uses surrounding that. So we'll probably come back to y'all with some more recommendations. And again, those would be conditional, not by right. And so therefore, any of those approvals would have to go through y'all first and could be subject to additional conditions set forth by the board.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the list, if you've looked at it under permitted use and conditional use, it's just, they're quite short. And so at the time the ordinance was adopted, that made sense. Now things have changed and we may need to just revisit the kind of applications, reflect the applications that we're getting in the permitted and conditional uses.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a good cleanup on that area.
So to summarize, there are the two categories. There's the monopole towers and the lattice or self-supporting towers. With the monopoles, what we're proposing is to add them as a conditional use under AR1 and AR2. And on my staff report, I said in B2 zoning districts. That's because in the telecommunications ordinance, it's just a funny quirk. In our actual B2 ordinance, the zoning district, towers are allowed as a conditional use, but in the telecommunications ordinance, there only certain types of towers are allowed in there. So this kind of cleans that little inconsistency up too. And then the self-supporting guide or the lattice tower would be a conditional use also in AR1, AR2, and the B2 zoning district. And it allows them then by right in B3. B3 was never mentioned, but if you allow in B2, by extension, it becomes allowed in B3, but for some reason it was never included either. And the county attorney has reviewed and approved this as a form.
Good. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this?
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve as presented. Have a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on, we removed item number 4. We're moving on to item number 5 of old business. Consideration to approve the first reading of amendments to Part 2, Appendix C, Article 5, Uses Permitted in Districts, Section 5.1 of the Code of Ordinances of Effingham County.
All right, and this is just the supporting amendment that in section 5.1, AR1 Agricultural Residential District, we've added telecommunication towers under conditional uses, so it's specifically mentioned. And then under AR2, as always, AR2 normally just accepts everything in AR1, although there is a section where we've proposed to exclude cell towers as a permitted use in AR2, but added as a conditional use. And so that way it's coming back before you. Because if we didn't do that, it would just be a use by right, and we wouldn't have that much option for control over it. So this is just cleaning that up to ensure that any AR1 or AR2 site would come before you for review.
Do we issue building permits for those?
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, we do a review. There are a lot of levels of review to have.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on that one as well? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Floyd to approve as presented, second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. We are done with the old business section. We are moving on to new business. Item number 1, consideration to approve the first reading of the speed zone ordinance to reduce the existing vehicular speed limit on Rod Station Road as it approaches Highway 21 from 55 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour. Mr. George.
Charlie George, County Engineer. The purpose of this is that there's a pending project of the Love's Truck Stop at the northwest corner of the intersection. And as part of the applicant's process, he performed a traffic study for the purposes of analyzing the safe ingress and egress of traffic at the site. If you're aware, at Ron Station, as it leaves Highway 21 going west, it immediately jumps to a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. The study recommended a reduction of that existing speed limit on Ron Station at that area so that you could more safely address the entering and exiting of trucks at the facilities along with the vehicular traffic on Ron Station. County staff discussed this with the Sheriff's Department and provided the recommendation of the speed limit reduction to them, and received their concurrence on this reduction. So the county staff is recommending approval of the speed limit reduction from 55 to 45 miles per hour in that zone as recommended by the applicant's traffic study. The applicant will be responsible for the installation of the speed reduction signage on the road in accordance with the requirements. So the recommendation is to approve a speed zone ordinance for a speed limit reduction at that location on Ron Station Road as it approaches Highway 21 from 55 mile an hour to 45 mile an hour.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
What's typically that distance when you approach? Is there, or is it just kind of?
When I looked at it going from 21 going west on Ron Station, it's probably about maybe 200 feet before you see the 55 mile an hour speed limit, so it jumps really quick coming out of that intersection. And at that speed, it's really difficult for trucks entering and exiting. They're going to come from Ron Station off of 21 into that site, so it's really a safe decision to make. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve order number 1, so you change it from 55 to 45.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve as presented, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 2 of new business. Consideration to approve an assemblage permit for Halloween trick-or-treating at Royal Oak Subdivision on October 31st, beginning at 5:30 p.m.
Ms. Deanne Gordon has contacted us to ask about an assemblage permit. She's applied for this for the last several years to host trick-or-treating within the subdivision. They close the roads, they have just a community celebration, and they want to do it again this year. When I talked with her, I did ask that she consider whatever social distancing could be applied to this, and whatever CDC guidelines were in place at the time. And so she says in her application that they'll encourage homeowners as well as the guest trick-or-treaters to wear face masks, not just the scary kind, but the safe kind. And ask residents to provide hand sanitizer at each residence, and also to encourage everyone to keep distance. So they're going to do what they can, which is probably what everyone's going to do.
Okay.
So staff-
They've been doing this in rural weeks.
Yeah, I think every year we get
Is this something they actually need or just?
Well, I think the biggest thing, the safety side is, I think, closing the road, is that right?
Yeah, so many people just drive through. I mean, literally, the streets are full of kids. There's a citizen that has a large lot next to it, or basically a farm. They let them park there and walk through instead of
We've
driving.
been doing it for
Just
years.
say for years.
Same thing.
It's not your standard trick-or-treat neighborhood.
It's they pile and have to
Yeah. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Floyd to approve as presented. Have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, consideration to approve a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
Good evening, Christy Carpenter, Finance Director. This, we hope, is the last amendment that we need to close out fiscal year 20. And this is simply a reallocation of existing general fund budget. It is covering repairs to the fuel tank at the EMS building and reallocation of existing special fund budget, which is covering the EOM contract, roadside mowing, vehicle equipment maintenance, and public works. So there's no new funding requested, it's just a reallocation, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or concerns for staff?
Christy, you might not know this, but from the very beginning, when we built all that, I believe we was getting 20 cents a gallon of that fuel. Do we still get that?
We do.
It's a good bit of money, right?
It wasn't as much as I really thought it would be, but we get it about twice a year. They fill up about twice a year, and we get that 20 cents when they fill the tanks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for staff?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve as presented. Have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 4, consideration to approve to accept a grant award from the Georgia Governor's Office Highway Safety Law Enforcement Grant Program.
This is a grant that we've been fortunate enough to get every year. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a new one. I apologize. There was a second one I have. But this one is going to be utilized by the Sheriff's Office to purchase equipment and provide services to educate the public on highway safety and facilitate the implementation of programs that reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on roadways in the county. It is a reimbursable grant, and it was awarded in the amount of $71,254.80. There is no cost share required, so staff is requesting approval.
Okay.
So we paid so much a month to get that $71,000?
We pay it out and then they'll pay us back. We send the receipts in and they send the money back to us.
Okay, this is a reverse. Okay, I got you.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. Anybody have any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve
Second.
alternative one.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette. I think I heard a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I actually said that.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Let the record show that Commissioner Floyd made the second. And motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 5 of new business, consideration to approve a quote submitted by Sirius American Insurance Company for catastrophic inmate medical coverage for the Effingham County Jail.
Okay, Allison Booten is out sick, so this is the catastrophic inmate insurance that's carried by the county. So we went out again for this year, and the quote that was submitted by Sirius was a premium of $21,381.12 with a deductible of $30,000. I will say I did look at something from ACCG, and that you had mentioned to me, that's in addition to this that we could look at as an additional offering, but would not replace this catastrophic plan.
Okay.
So we are, staff is recommending, as jail staff is also recommending alternative number 1.
Okay. Are there
Which
any,
is Sirius, not her.
are there any questions, concerns, comments by the board? And hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve as presented. Have a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 6, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between Effingham County and the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia.
Yes, again, this is the extension essentially of an existing MOU that we have with the University of Georgia to provide the extension services with the county. Staff is recommending that we extend the existing agreement to the end of this fiscal year. And they offer us alternative ways that we can provide payment to them. And so we may be looking at changing that compensation method. Right now, we pay the employees directly. Some employees get paid by both the county and UGA. One of the options that we're looking at to take effect at the beginning of the budget is to change this MOU, which we would then have to bring in front of the board again, where we simply make a lump sum payment to UGA once for the year, and the employees get paid solely by UGA. It's just a little bit cleaner for us, but we just want to do a little bit more research on it.
Okay.
So we are recommending the approval of the MOU with UGA, and essentially it operates as we operate right now to the end of the fiscal year. Well, it goes beyond that, but we have 90 days. We'll let you know 90 days in advance if you want to change it.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Tina.
alternative 1 is our recommendation.
Have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper for alternative 1. Have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Item number 7, consideration to approve a contract with Diversified Correctional Services, LLC, related to the Prison Rape Elimination Act.
Yes, again, we went out for quotes for this service, and We've got 3 quotes. Staff is recommending approval of the contract with Diversified Correctional Services for the Prison Rape Elimination Act audit services in the amount of $3,650. And that is alternative number 1.
Why would we go with it versus the cheaper one?
It's the, for the small amount of money, this is the company that we're working with who understands our existing audit services. So we feel the additional work that we have to do on our side more than makes up for the additional $650.
Outweighs $650.
Okay. Are there any questions or concerns for staff? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve alternative 1. I have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 8, new business. Consideration to approve a final plat warranty deed, infrastructure agreement, and maintenance agreement for Rain Dance subdivision located off of Ebenezer Road, consisting of 41 lots, map number 445, parcel number 26.
We've received an application for final plat approval for Rain subdivision, and that included the final plat submittal form, the infrastructure agreement, which is a little different. City of Springfield provides water and sewer to the subdivision, and the city and the developers have entered a utility easement agreement, and as kind of an extension of that, the infrastructure agreement is what the county will sign with all the parties in order to ensure that we accept the right-of-way, but not the City of Springfield's infrastructure within the right-of-way. The warranty deed has been reviewed and the infrastructure agreement have been reviewed and approved by the county attorney. The stormwater facility inspection and maintenance agreement is a standard agreement, and it goes with the subdivision, not with the developer, so this is something that we include with all subdivisions, and it's part of the final plat approval process. As I said, water and sewer provided by City of Springfield. EOM has reviewed the plat and all the forms and inspected the right-of-way and stormwater infrastructure, and they recommend approval. Staff reviewed all the documentations and recommend approval. The county engineer reviewed the bond recommendation and approved the bond for $57,354.90, which is 10% of the total cost of the drainage and paving in phase 1. And as I said, the county attorney has reviewed and approved the warranty deed and infrastructure agreement. So staff recommend approval of the final plat and acceptance of the roads and stormwater infrastructure identified in the warranty deed and the infrastructure agreement, and that's alternative 1.
Okay, so it sounds like we have all our boxes checked then. Okay.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman. I did revise the deed. It's a little different than the one that was actually published, and that was simply to add some language to make sure we're taking the roads and the drainage improvements as well. So that's all.
Okay, so with approval, you're still good with it? Okay, all right. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for staff? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second. All right, have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve alternative 1. Have a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to new business number 9. Consideration to approve the funds for encroachment permit for installation of the new water line under the rail line at the intersection of Blue Jay and McCall Roads.
Charlie George, County Engineer. As part of the Blue Jay Road Waterline Extension A, the water line has to go under the Norfolk Southern Railroad line that runs along McCall Road. To do that, we have to submit a permit application to Norfolk Southern for their approval, which we did, and they approved the application on October 6th. So we need to have the permit signed saying we agree to the terms, and there's a permit fee of $20,300. along with the $1,900 risk management fee. The risk management fee, you have a choice in their application of either providing Norfolk Southern with basically a liability policy, or you can pay this $1,900 risk management fee, and they put that on their policy, which we believe that's the better way to go than us trying to get a new policy for them. So county engineering recommends approval of the signing of the permit along with the payment of the permit fee and the risk management fee. Alternate 1 is to approve the staff recommendation for approval. Alternate 2 is reject the staff's recommendation, which will result in not being able to place the line under the railroad. And we recommend alternate number 1.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Any questions or concerns for staff? I know this is a project we've got to get done, so it's got to happen.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve alternate number 1. Have a second, I believe, by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to new business, item number 10. Consideration to approve supplemental funding request number 2 for work under EFF 008, work order number 6, related to the Effingham Parkway.
Thank you. This is the second supplemental request from Atlas Technical Consultants, formerly known as Moreland Altabelli. If you recall, at the end of last year, about a year ago, we did a first supplemental. This particular one takes into consideration a few things that we did not foresee, some of them being some work associated with the environmental that was not completed on the Chatham side that had to get done in order to move the project forward. This is a preliminary engineering, so it's reimbursable under the existing agreement that we have with GDOT. In addition to that, when we did that last supplemental, we were assuming at the latest, a January of this year, of 2021 let date. We of course found out in January of this year that let date won't be till July, so there might be some minor costs associated with those monthly phone calls, but we will be watching the hours associated with that to make sure they're accounted for correctly. Staff is recommending approval of the supplemental request in the amount not to exceed $92,518.
I had a conversation with the chairman before he went out of town, and he wanted me to express this to y'all, but he is in agreement with paying this money. We have our right-of-way certified. We're moving forward. As Mr. Callahan stated, hopefully our let date will be in July, so we've been talking about this for 15 years. We're here, we're close, we need to keep the ball rolling. And I agree with the chairman. I think we need to pay this and keep moving, so we keep us on track with GDOT.
And just to give you an update on this as well, for the record, is we are we have certified our right of way. We hope by the end of this month to have all of our plans certified and environmental conditional permit, which is all we need to let the project.
So at that point, I mean, we're done. We're done. We're just waiting.
Just awaiting letting. There is some discussion, from my understanding from the local GDOT office, of potentially starting the letting process prior to the beginning of the fiscal year, so that it essentially is awarded in July versus starting the letting process in July, where it would get awarded about 45 days after that, so.
Okay. And you may have already done this or thinking about doing that, but can you, I know Ms. Purcell, she definitely understands what's going on, but just extra communication on that, just so she knows, and we're right there again.
Absolutely, and what I'm going to do is, once we have all of that done by the end of the month, I'm going to request that Atlas write a letter letting us know the status, because Atlas also assisted us in the right-of-way acquisition, letting us know the status of it, so that we can then send that letter to all the interested parties to let them know that we're complete.
Okay, very good. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on board? And hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve order number 1, please.
I have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve alternative 1. I have a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 11, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between Effingham County and Georgia Pacific Consumer Products, LP, for the donation of dispensers and related products for the Morgan Complex.
Yes, this is a memorandum of understanding that similar what we did when we opened the Morgan Complex for the restroom facilities associated with that. They are generously donating side-by-side tissue dispensers and material for the complex, and we hope to get this approved, and these should be installed as soon as this gets signed, so that when we have a grand opening, which we anticipate to be on November 1st, which is a Sunday at 3 p.m., that everything will be ready to go. And we did we did do an inspection with some of the board members today, and everything looks on track. It actually looks like a fantastic facility.
Okay, I know all that was pretty straightforward. If there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve. I have a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Are we going to look at the construction contract at the next meeting for the admin complex?
Yes. Possibly. If we did get the bids in, there were some questions on those bids.
Okay.
So if we can get those cleared up, we can get it done at the next meeting. If they're not cleared up, then they might have to wait till the second meeting in November.
Okay. All right, very good. That was the last item on new business. My phone says 5:44. We can take a recess until 6 o'clock, our planning board, or if y'all want to try to go through staff reports, I mean, we can. All right, okay, well, let's, at this time, we'll move into reports from administrative staff and commissioners. I'll start with our county manager, Tim Callahan, if you have any.
Sure. Just a couple of things. First off, again, the grand opening for the gymnasium is Sunday, November 1st at 3 p.m. We are having a media day on Thursday, the 29th, as well, just to get information out on it. So if the public can make it, we hope we'll have a decent crowd because the fields will be in use that day as well. And lastly, I just want to let you know that the census is officially complete, and we did very well, particularly where we were 10 years ago. We led the region. We were at 66.7% of self-response, which it really gives you, the higher that number gives you the most accurate count. and we were 22nd in the state on that. But when you talk about going door to door, effectively we're 99.9% enumerated, so we're good.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Johnson, our county clerk, do you have anything you need to talk about?
Just to let you know that you have your financial reports for the month of August. That's already in your box. We're not going to ask for it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and also, Vicki should have given you out the information for the health insurance. I wanted to get this out to you well in advance, so if folks needed to sit down individually and discuss it, absolutely we're available to do it. We are going to recommend, the staff recommendation is going to be the partially self-funded, but there is also the option for the traditional fully insured as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Have anything from our fire chief?
Well, just fire chief. The only major update we have was that the new Springfield Fire Station went into service officially this past month. So that was really the big topic. Call volume has actually gone back down a little bit to where it's normal. We were hitting about 100 calls a month higher than normal, but we've actually dropped back to about 330, 340 calls a month, which is somewhere closer to average.
Okay. How's everything with the city of Guyton over there?
Everything's going great.
Still good?
Everything is going great.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Okay, have any other updates from any other staff? No? Okay. All right, we'll go around and we'll hear from the commissioners. Commissioner Loper?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Commissioner Kiefer?
I was just going to ask, has anybody had any brainstorms on public building? I'm trying to stem that. I know we've been talking about something.
And there's a couple of possibilities that we can look at in the budget, and then we've also discussed about, the one thing about public dumping is there seems to be repetitive in the locations that they occur in. I don't have IT here, but we did have a conversation with IT to the ability to have remote cameras because having a camera that can take pictures is great, like a deer cam.
Yeah.
But it's mostly at night, so you really wouldn't be able to identify the person. But being able to alert sheriff's office when it occurs increases the probability of it getting done. So we're looking at seeing if we can tie that into the surveillance system that we're scoping for the new building. That and, the potential of looking at the viability of litter officers who can spend full-time investigating, like one dedicated one to spend full-time dedicated to investigating the dumping.
Is that regards to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go overboard because I don't think there is a solution.
Right.
Like anything to.
But, you could find how effective it is based on how effective their investigations are. A lot of times there's a receipt involved there, or that we can backtrack the source of material, but it's time consuming and, it takes some time. If we rely on the sheriff's office to do that, where, we can potentially have a code enforcement person look into it. So we can discuss that during budget.
Just want to say the voting process went very smooth. New machines are awesome. They really got together over there.
The only thing I have a complaint that the libraries are open, but the restrooms in the libraries are closed. I'm trying to thought, somebody has money, chance to get COVID off of the
I'll look into that.
It's handled as much as the restroom. They like to have restrooms open.
Yeah, I can find out what's going on there. I don't understand why.
Good. The only thing I'll add is the walkthrough today at the new gym gymnasium, the Players Forum complex looks really good. I think we delivered a good product, and I look forward to the grand opening on November 1st. With that being said, I have 5:51. Our next session starts at 6 o'clock for our planning board. So we'll take a 9-minute recess, and we will begin again at 6 p.m. I've got the time now is 6:01, and we will go ahead and start the planning board session of our meeting this evening. Item number 1, and I apologize, I'm going to say this name wrong. The planning board recommends approving an application by Ann's Garhay LLC to rezone 8 acres out of a 72.15 acre parcel located on Godley Road from AR1 to I1 for a surface map number 419, parcel number 1A in the 1st/2nd district.
So the plan is to operate a surface mine on, well, it's where the yellow arrow is located. The parcel itself extends into Chatham County as well. And so this is the plat, and you can see that the parcel extends, crosses the border of Chatham and Effingham County. The portion to be rezoned, though, is only 8 acres of that smaller section up at the north end there. And the access to Godley Road would be across the land owned by the applicant down to Godley Road. There's some question as to how exactly where on Godley Road it will exit, but the applicants here tonight can probably answer that. The reason we did District 1/2 is that, oddly enough, the one part is in District 1 and one part is in District 2, so that the actual surface mine activity will be located in District 2, but the access to Godley Road is in District 1. So we wanted to be clear that it affects 2 districts. At the planning board meeting, the board voted to recommend approval of it. We have added the usual stipulations for a surface mine, but also the entirety of the new surface mine ordinance, just so we can get kind of into the habit of getting that information out to all applicants of surface mines. So the entire surface mine ordinance that y'all approved a month or so ago is included in the stipulations, and we did furnish that to the applicant too, so he's aware of those conditions. And staff have reviewed this, and knowing that this is a state permit and that the state review supersedes our review, really, we've recommended approval of the rezoning.
Yeah, this is just actually step 1 of their process. They just got to get the rezone, and then they move to the state process, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. This is a public hearing. I will ask if there's anyone here that would like to come up and speak on behalf of this rezoning. Please state your name for the record.
Greg House. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right. It's the back of the property. I donated all the property that surrounds it to, actually Georgia Southern owns it now. And so this is part I've kept, and may eventually give them, once we dig the pond, might give that to them too. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
Where specific, is there a site plan of what your intentions
It's
are?
right there where the arrow is, there's
Something more specific, where are you going to be coming in and out of the?
I've got 2 accesses to Godley Road. One is my park exit, and then I also have an easement that's further down that we'd like to utilize. Keep Miss Teresa happy.
Yeah, I can't.
I've already talked with her about it, so she's fine.
I'd like to see something more specific as far as where you're going to be. I can't support 100 dump trucks a day coming between 2 residents' homes.
I understand that. Nobody lives on the left. It's been empty for over a year.
We've already had plenty of calls about,
Yes.
with the ATV part.
I have another exit of it. That just shows the Effingham property. I have the Chatham property, which goes down, I don't know if you have an error there or not, but we do have a easement, 60-foot easement that's down in Chatham County.
Could you utilize that?
Yeah, no problem.
I can support that. I can't support it right next to the counter.
I understand, she's tough.
But other than that, I mean, I believe in property rights, I believe you should be able to utilize your property as you see fit.
Yes.
I don't want to impact the other citizens there.
Right. That, as you know, that road is basically, there's pits all up and down, so it's they're used to it, I think.
Okay. Anybody else have a question for Mr. House?
We can approve based on.
Yeah, how would we phrase that? Just I'm a support, but I don't want, you need to utilize I guess the Chatham County ingress portion.
In other words, you want me to utilize the Chatham County to access Godly Road?
And that's where your 60-foot easement is?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to come in and out of where the ATV part, next to the residents' homes.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to Wilson.
Hold on, we got to do, see if anybody's here.
Yeah, so.
Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in favor of this zoning? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against this rezoning request? Okay, at this time I will close the public hearing. I will ask if any of the commissioners have any questions or concerns for the applicant or staff. In hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve with the understanding that Mr. Howes will utilize the Chatham County easement if it goes into his property.
Second.
Are there any other conditions proposed by planning board or staff?
Yeah, all of the conditions, there are,
The alternative one would include already, right?
Alternative one,
It will, if you say that.
And the additional.
So that's your motion to approve alternative one with, okay, thank you.
With those stipulations.
I would just recommend that you may just further state that there shall be no access from the other easement that's located in Effingham County. Just to make it clear that the only.
I actually don't own that, my son owns it, it's not an easement, it's a,
We just don't.
Okay, if there's no easement, then there's no access anyway there.
not an Effingham.
I just want it clear that there will be, this site cannot be used through that Effingham easement that you currently use for the ATV park.
Gotcha.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve alternative one with staff and planning board recommendations with the additional condition that Mr. House will use his 60-foot easement in Chatham County for ingress and egress to the property. And did I have a second by Commissioner Loper?
Second.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Floyd, have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. That motion carries unanimous. And since we added the additional condition, we cannot have a second reading, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we will have our second reading for this in old business at our first meeting in November.
You need a motion
For,
to postpone it to the,
Yeah, we can table this out.
Make a
oh,
motion.
all right, yes, I need a motion to
Make a
table
motion
this.
to postpone the second reading to our next meeting.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to postpone this item, second reading to the first meeting in November by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Just a reminder, old business will be at the beginning portion of our next meeting.
I
So,
need to attend that. No?
I can't give advice on that, but That's up to you. But, I mean, but you got a unanimous vote on the motion. That'll be the first Tuesday in November. I believe it'll be November 2nd.
November 3rd.
November 3rd, important day, and be here at 5 o'clock, because that'll be in old business. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to item number 3 of the planning board. The planning board recommends approving an application by Olin King to rezone 5.08 acres located at 1256 Blue Jay Road from AR1 to AR2 to combine with an adjacent parcel, map number 415, parcel number 5 in the 2nd district.
So as you can see the arrow is located, the parcel above it is 4155, and we're proposing to rezone that to AR2, and then combine it with the parcel just below the arrow, which is already zoned AR2. So actually, we're only being asked to rezone parcel 4155, and the applicant will then combine it with the other parcel and split it into a different configuration. And it requires rezoning because the acre, I'm sorry.
That's just what we require by our
Yeah, that's just what
ordinance.
we require.
Okay. All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. I will ask if there's anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this rezoning request. Yes, sir. You may approach. And I'll ask if you would please state your name for the record. Please, sir.
My name is Olin King. I am the applicant. The 5 acres is my residence. It's cutting it in half theoretically. It's 2.4 acres, I think it came out to be. Well, transferred to my grandson.
Okay.
So he's gonna.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. King. Thank you for that explanation. I'll ask if there's anyone else here who wants to speak in favor of the rezoning. Seeing none, I will ask if there's anyone here that wants to speak against this rezoning. All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I will now ask if our board has any questions or concerns or discussion for our applicant or our staff. In hearing none, I will entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve this request. I have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. That motion carries unanimous. We will have a second reading now since we approved with no additional conditions or stipulations. Item number 4, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Olin King to rezone 5.08 acres located at 1256 Blue Jay Road from AR1 to AR2 to combine with an adjacent parcel, map number 415, parcel number 5 in the 2nd district. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve the second reading. I have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, we're moving on to item number 5. The planning board recommends approving an application by Chad Zipper to rezone 15 acres out of a 107.64 acre parcel located on Hodgeville Road from AR1 to B3 for future development. Map number 417, parcel number 1 in the 2nd district. Just want to note to our commissioners that it is stated Chad Zipper on here, but it is Chad Zipper. Mr. Reese.
So, Mr. Zipper requests to rezone 15 acres of the 107 acre parcel. As you can see on where the red arrow is, that's the extent of the 107 acres. It runs along the south end of Belmont Glen. And the proposed 15 acres are proposed to be rezoned right at the front. And on the right there, you'll see the site plan that was provided by the applicant to show the concept plan for the storage facility that they hope to construct there. So as it was this has to be rezoned to B3 to accommodate the storage facility. And as it was 15 acres, which is a little more than is usual for storage facilities in this county, we did ask for more information. And we've been told that the 15 acres, rezoning it along Hodgeville Road and to commercial, is just really to anticipate future business opportunities. But because there was some concern at the staff level and even apparently in the development planning community about what could happen there with B3 zoning, we did add an extra stipulation that you can consider, and I'll read it out. A site plan for any changes to the above referenced application and for all other development planned for the rezoned 15 acres shall be submitted to the staff, to the planning board and the board of commissioners for review. And this is more than we usually ask for, but we just weren't certain, and in fact the applicant wasn't entirely certain what they were going to do with the acreage beyond that needed initially for the storage facilities. So just to ensure that we're aware and have enough time to sort of work with the applicant for any future development, if it's not just more storage, we just wanted to include that in there, that they should run it through us again and through the planning board if necessary, if it's a significantly different proposal than what we're doing right now.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, this is a public hearing. At this time, I will ask if there's anyone here that wants to speak in favor of this rezoning request. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Travis Bazemore. I'm with EMC Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. Maybe try to shed some light on some of what was said and try to answer any questions y'all might have. Basically, the applicant, they have this property and they, had a thought about doing some mini storage. So obviously they had to get rezoned. So they were looking at doing just a field, which is about where the arrow is. It's about 8 acres. So as part of the rezoning, staff requested a site plan. So this is a very, very conceptual plan, and what they're planning on doing is just starting out fairly small and kind of to see where it goes from there. The 15 acres, it ain't nothing really special about it. They just wanted to make sure they had enough. They're not mini storage developers, but they're doing a mini storage development, and so they just didn't know how much it may grow. They may have a 3-acre, yard for a boat and RV storage. So they just wanted to make sure that they had enough. As of right now, there's not any other plans, under the B3 zoning. The applicant is asking and requesting that the board remove that stipulation, the one she referred to, number 1 in the staff report, about having to come back, and mainly it's, I haven't never heard of that. I don't know if it's something that y'all have recently required other people to do, and the applicant has actually met with Belmont Glen HOA several times, and according to him, he didn't have any opposition to the rezoning, and there wasn't anybody at the planning board really in opposition. So since there wasn't, anybody from the community that had major concerns, it just don't seem, it didn't make a lot of sense to have to come back before and go through that whole process again. And I would note, any site plan that's done is going to have to come to staff of any kind. You could do four different, under that B3 zoning, staff's going to approve it. The only thing that the way I read it, is this stipulation is just requiring above and beyond and going back before the board, which obviously prolongs the process, but it'll be reviewed by y'all's engineer, by staff, any site plan that
So the 15 acres, that is the entire road frontage side of Hodgeville, right?
It's pretty much the whole field, and then, however big the field is behind that in woods.
I guess the concern would be that we approve it based on it being mini storage, but what other businesses can come under B3 zoning in the future that
To a degree, that's why we have it only to either zone.
Yeah,
But they can't build nothing other than a B3, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're okay with B3, If you put nothing else on
In that scenario, honestly, if we put that stipulation, it's better off just rezoning what you need and not paying property tax on commercial property until you needed it to be. But,
And I don't see no person doing that, if you're gonna pay the taxes on the beach.
Right.
no, I agree.
Like I said, it's not really that there's something planned for 15 acres. It's, they don't know how much they're gonna need, so they just making sure they have, ample enough.
Put a bunch of mini stories on 15 acres in Highfield.
I understand, but
Been there.
But he could put.
It may not be anything.
As long as there'll be three.
that may all be that gets built right
Nobody
there.
knows what he's gonna do.
What you see right there may all that gets built. I mean, if it don't do good, then, they may
You
not.
won't have to come back before the board if that happens.
Okay.
It'll be going in accordance with the stipulation.
All right, gentlemen, well, I don't mean to be rude here, but I just want to make sure we keep the public hearing going smooth here, and we will have a chance to come back and ask questions. Mr. Bayswater, do you have anything else that you want to present at this time? Or?
No, just that one request from when y'all vote to remove it.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak in favor of this rezoning request? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against this rezoning request? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this time, and I will ask the board if y'all have any questions, concerns, anything y'all would like to discuss. I have a...
As long as it's B3, he can put he wants to. If in 2 years from now, if he decides he doesn't fill it up, he can change half of it back to AR1. He doesn't have to leave it at B3, he can change it back to whatever it was. If you don't want to pay taxes on it, if you want to pay taxes on it, we're glad to take it.
He could, my only concern, I'm not against the project, is he sold it to the neighborhood that it's going to be a mini storage. That's the reason I said, what other type of business can come under a B3 in 5 years of mini storage, it can do what it wants? What other type of business could pop up there that the community would say, this isn't what we talked about? You said it was going to be stored, so what other type of business can come under B3?
I think you're micromanaging the zoning process when you do that. If you have your zone.
Well, you got to go, it includes everything that's in B1 and B2. And so it would be quite a list here. But I'll go through them fairly quickly.
Something that the neighborhood would think show up and be against.
Okay, so cafes and restaurants, private clubs, lodges, community centers, dry cleaning outlets, convenience stores without gas pumps, but I think gas pumps get included in the latter zoning. Residential units can be above the commercial units, bed and breakfasts. And then there's a series of conditional uses, but they'd have to come back to us, so I'm going to skip
I was
those.
just curious.
And then adding the B2, fast food restaurants, hotels, motels, retail businesses, indoor entertainment, offices and banks, libraries, multifamily units up to 12 units per acre, bus station, movie theaters. That's B2. And then the last would be the B3, which would then add automotive sales and service, lumber yards, wholesale operations, privately owned recreation facilities, hospitals, nursing homes. It's still, again, multifamily, but with the same density of 12 units per acre. And the remainder are conditional uses. So that's kind of your encompassing list.
So once B3 is approved, say in 5 years, they came back with a project that staff didn't think would be good. I mean,
It's in the zoning.
If it's in the zoning,
It's in the zoning.
that's on that list, and it meets the, whatever the requirements are, then they have it by right. And then, but if it's a conditional use that goes beyond that list, and we have conditional uses that are approved in there, that would have to go in front of the board.
okay.
I'm not against the project, I'm just saying,
I think that's a good stipulation. It might micromanage a little bit, but if he wants to come back and do a lumber yard in 5 years, there's nothing to prevent that. And these people are thinking he's gonna do a storage. We already denied some stuff on the side of the road, additional future use plans. But to me, this makes sense. This is good, the use he's wanting to do is great. It's storage beside a development, wonderful. But the unknowns are what worries me. We don't know what else he want to do, and he doesn't even know what else he wants to do, and that's why the stipulations are put there. So if he had a plan, we can hear that tonight. But there is no plan. There's just like, okay, we're going to do this and see what happens. I don't think that's good enough. It's not good enough for a county. But we can still move forward, do this with a condition, it would be fine, we just hear it again, as long as it's something that's palatable in the future, then what's the big deal about coming before us again? It's not a big deal.
Well, and one thing too, previously on one of the items that we did not approve on Hodgeville, I know there was an issue because there was not road frontage.
There's some more stuff besides that too.
Well, it was more stuff, but then with this definitely has road frontage. And with our looping, water sewer looping project going in that area, Effingham Parkway is definitely moving forward for sure now. I think that area you may see more commercial.
Yeah, I think,
You know,
I think we're gonna need it.
Yeah,
I'd just like to see more definitive plans. You know, I think the one you got so far is great.
I think we're creating, my problem is we're creating zones. We even did this when we approved that in my district. We created a new zone, really a zoning, because we manipulated as a board. It's almost we're not trusting our own zoning ordinances.
The storage is a good project. It's needed in the area, there's no doubt. I just
Lee, you got anything to add?
I just think there might be some confusion with the stipulation, and what Mr. Burdette is talking about would be a use restriction to where you're restricting everything else but this use. That's a totally different thing than what we have before you. I mean, another option, another way to look at this is we're talking about 15 acres. If you were to rezone this B3, they own 80 plus acres that's left. What's that going to be? You know, they're going to come back to you and say, well, you gave us B3 there, why can't we have it now? So just, you got to think a little bit down the road, try to figure out what you want for this area. It goes back to the master plan and the zoning for this particular region and what you'd like to see there. Once you have B3, it opens up a lot, just like Tim had read out, 1, 2, and 3, all those uses. So if it'd be similar to what you did off Chimney Road, to where it would be a use restriction to this only, and that's not what's before you. So I mean, if that's what you're thinking, I would think our recommendation would be to postpone or table this to the next meeting, and so we give it a little more thought about if that's the road you want to go down, is with a use restriction for a conditional use, and that's what we need to do. But that's not what's before.
But if we did put the use restriction on there, I mean, that goes for the entire parcel. Because, I mean, this is one parcel.
Yeah, it would go to I guess it's the 15 acres, what's being rezoned, it would apply to that. So basically, you would restrict all other uses except for a mini storage. And if they didn't put a mini storage there, then they'd have to come back in front of it and go back to the whole process, actually.
But doing that would it still allow. So they did it on 7 acres, could they still come back into the process and do something different? So I don't want to restrict it to a degree where they can't have some options in the future.
I don't recommend probably even trying to go down that road. Now it's making it a little more difficult and create some legal issues doing it that way.
I think one of the biggest things that makes this a little more confusing, I don't think we've had this large of a B3 requests before. So it is different because typically previous applicants, when they come to us on 3, 4, 5 acres, whatever it is, I mean, that whole parcel is a plan. I mean, you know what's going to happen. But I'll say two things. I never discourage tabling something if we need to get additional information. But I think with the way our ordinance is written today, I don't think I would want to restrict the use. If we're going to rezone it, we're going to rezone it B3. If a use comes under B3, then it is what it is. That's the zoning we have. I feel that due to the Parkway being closer to start, our looping projects being there, I think we'll start seeing more requests in that area. I could be wrong, but it just seems like it to me. But that's my stance, but I'll ask the board if y'all want to entertain a motion tonight, or if you would like to look at taking 2 more weeks.
It does make you question, and I know we constantly find things in our ordinance that zoning ordinance. But why is this not a conditional use in B1? It's not a bad zoning. Why did it get stuck as a conditional use, or not as an approved use in B3, but not, because if it were a conditional use in B1 or B2, you could rezone it B1 or B2 with that as approved conditional use and have all those other uses that probably we like. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's just for retail and everything else.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
That's right. And that's all in the B1 and B2.
But when you start getting that broad, when you're on B2 and B3, that worries me.
As long as it's B3, I mean, he can do that.
I like to add an additional use to a zoning rather than go to a zoning and take uses away. I just don't like that. That's just not.
Lee, what do you think about that versus restricting a broad use, but conditional on like a B1?
And again, this would have to go, I don't know the petitioner's position on this either.
We'll just have to go back through the process.
I am Chad Zipper. The only really problem I have with that is y'all got 2,200 acres that joins that corner that's I-4 that's unconditioned. And they can do when you have absolutely no control over what they do. So I don't think that I should be asked to have the same stipulation. Now, if we want to do it at staff level, I agree with that. Also, there in between the Belmont Glen and my property, there's approximately a football field or more of wetlands, more or less. That is an extreme buffer, so we would not be impacting them. And that's the only reason I went for the B3 to 15 acres is because I don't know what we're going to use. I mean, we've always seen it before with other rezonings, and it's better to have more than not enough. So, I mean, I just wanted to be upfront and honest that I don't know. Storage is what we want to do now. Do I want a lumber yard there? No, we own the rest of it. I mean, and my family owns all the way around it, so I don't see them wanting anything like that as well. I mean, or, call out, you know what I'm saying? I don't see that happening. I mean, that's the only reason the restriction to me was a little bit overstepping when industrial's right across the street. With no restrictions.
We're worried about now. We got something right across the street we have no control.
Oh, I agree, but I mean, you can't put that on, that's what I see. I appreciate your time on that.
Any other comments from the board?
I think you ought to go ahead and pass it yourself with B3. I mean, there's no restriction on B3 to how many acres you can get. It doesn't say you can't have 5 acres on a B3 zoning. If it did, we could zone for 3 acres. You got 15 acres there. Let him do what he wants to, as long as it's on B3. He can't do nothing else. That's my take on it.
Is there any other comments?
I think I'd like to table it. Really take a stronger look at it and maybe talk to Zipper and their staff and see if we can made some great points about what we've done already, but we're still going to continue that already, being restricted by the broad. But I think Phil brought up a great point.
Okay, when would you want to table that to next meeting?
Oh, let's do it in the next meeting. I don't want to hold up anymore than I would. I'll try to hold it back or anything like that. I just want to make sure we get it right.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to table to the next meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to table this item to the next meeting, November 3rd, which will come up in old business at the first part of the meeting. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Okay, please let the record show that Commissioner Loper was opposed, so that motion is 4-1. So the motion carries. This will be tabled to our next meeting, first Tuesday in November. That will be at 5 p.m. because that will be an old business section, so it will be at the beginning of the meeting. And since we tabled that, no need for a second reading. Moving on to item number 7. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Lawrence Law for a variance located at 680 Collet Road to reduce the side setback requirements from 25 feet to 10 feet for a residence, map number 417, parcel number 12 in the 2nd District.
So this application stems from a series of confusions about the previous accessory buildings regulations, in which, and the setback requirements. And so the building permit was issued for an accessory building, and then a building permit was issued for a garage. Then it was discovered that the buildings, if left freestanding, would not meet setbacks. And so after meetings and negotiations, it was determined that, I believe it was the garage would be connected to the house, and that could be done, and that was possible. However, that led to another setback issue, but it seemed like it was the best solution. So instead of dwelling in accessory building confusion, it just became a simple primary building side setback variance request, which just seemed to solve more problems. And so that's what you have before you. At this stage, the side setback requirement in that zoning district is 25 feet, but in this case, because of the addition and the garage being connected to the house, it would be a 10-foot setback. And so the applicant is asking for a variance to allow that, so we can move ahead with this project. And staff recommends approval.
And our recent changes to the ordinance kind of clean that
To
up.
clear that up a little bit.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing. I will ask if there's anyone here at this time that wants to speak in favor of this request. Please state your name for the record.
I'm Lawrence Long, or Alex. I'm the applicant. So as Ms. Teresa mentioned, I got through the permitting process, through the zoning. There was some confusion between the accessory building versus attached, detached, and the side setbacks versus how far it had to be off of the house. And I'm, fairly a little ways along, and then I already had a septic tank put in for this and already passed through all that. So I have, I have some money involved already. Got to the point of pouring the slab before we reached this point. So I'm kind of sitting at at an impasse here where, it would take a lot of money to dig all that up and tear everything up for a few feet of setback. My neighbor's in approval with this. His drain field and everything's over on that side, so there's no accessories or structures that he could put on that side of his property that would encroach there either. We have a little buffer there with some trees and stuff like that, so I've had no kickback from any neighbors or anything like that, so I'm just asking for the approval to change the variance from 25 foot. Even though, because I'm AR2, but I'm an AR1, but I'm really a non-conforming AR1, so if I was more an AR2, it would be 15 foot, so then it would really just be kind of going from 15 to 10.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak in favor of the rezoning? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against this rezoning? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this time. Are there any questions, concerns, or comments from the board?
Just like I said, Glad I got this far, and it took some work with staff and everything, so that was good. It's solved.
Okay. Do I have a motion at this time?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve the request. I have a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. We will have a second reading. Moving on to item number 8, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Lawrence Long for a variance located at 680 Collet-Helmy Road to reduce the side setback requirements from 25 feet to 10 feet for a residence, map number 417, parcel number 12 in the 2nd District. Have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Have a motion by Commissioner Burdette to approve the second reading. I have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 9. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Terramore Development as agent for Lynn Michael Brennan to rezone 1.12 acres out of 1.76 acres located on McCall Road from AR1 to B3, map number 465M, parcel number 3B in the 2nd District.
So the staff report actually contains a little bit more information, but we've streamlined it because the original application led to some discussions that kind of led staff to assume certain things which were incorrect. So we pulled back, and what you just read is all we're talking about tonight. Where the arrow is pointing to that green portion, that down to McCall Road is the request is to rezone that to B3. It will later be combined with that little square of what is now B3, a portion of that little square that is now B3 in the center of the parcel. At a later date, we expect to come back with a recombination of the remainder of that, the remainder of the AR1 with the AR2. So that's next time. But right now, you're only looking at AR2 to be, AR1 to B3 in the front section of that green for retail development. Staff have reviewed everything and recommend approval. There are letters that we received expressing concern about possible drainage impacts in Westwood Heights, and I did include that as your packet.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this rezoning?
Yes, sir. My name is Philip McCorkle. I'm here with Terramore Development. Mr. Davis from Terramore is here, and our engineer is here as well, since drainage was an issue. The part that's B3 already is a truck parking yard, which is really not good. And the applicant intends to put a Dollar General, a nice new Dollar General retail store up on McCall Road, and it'll take the part between the B3 truck yard and McCall Road, plus about 6/10 of an acre from that existing B3 to put together, make a 1 3/4 acre site. I believe that when you're standing on McCall Road, there's a shopping center, a retail strip center to the right. Behind you, across McCall Road, is a paint and body shop. To the north, behind this property that we're talking about, is the home of the woman who owns 8 acres and will continue to own the remaining 6 acres. She obviously is not opposed to it. And on the left, there's 3 houses facing Charlton Road that we would be near. There will be, we're going to put up a fence along our property line. There's going to be a 30-foot drive which will go to the lady's house in the back, plus we'll have 30-foot landscape buffer. And so it's a good buffer between us and those 3 houses. And frankly, at planning and zoning and talking to folks after the meeting, I think people are thrilled that the truck parking yard will be gone. And the only concern expressed that I can recall or know of was drainage. Now, of course, we can't fix drainage in that part of Effingham County. There are obviously, it's flat. It's like most parts of South Georgia are, and so there can be drainage issues. But we've gone the extraordinary step since planning meeting to really study the drainage and see if there's anything we can do within reason to perhaps alleviate some of the issues that the closest neighbors have. And we've done topos, and we find it's flat as a pancake. It's 58 feet across. There's a rise behind us to the north, what we're going to plan to do is we're only going to have a 9,100 square foot building, but we're going to have an 11,500 square foot detention pond with 3 feet of depth. So it'll hold a lot more water than we need for our site. And the site to the north, which is slightly higher than our property, can drain into our detention pond. So we actually can alleviate some of the, not a ton of the drainage issues in the area, but some. And then the water will be piped under our parking lot out to the roadside ditch at McCall Road. So we want to be good neighbors. I think it'll be a benefit to the community and a slight benefit for the drainage situation in that area. I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak in favor of this rezoning? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against this rezoning? Yes, ma'am, you can approach the microphone and please state your name for the record, please.
Elizabeth Davis. I'm at 115 Charlton. We never had a problem with flooding. Never. Unless it was a hurricane. Until back in 18, they illegally elevated that property. They hauled truckload after truckload of dirt in that property. Now I understand these gentlemen had nothing to do with that, but that's what happened. And as a result, then yeah, we have a huge issue with flooding. I would like to show you these pictures. And this was not a hurricane. This was just like the storms, just like we had a week or so ago. You know, every afternoon being pounded. And it was so bad, WTOC came out and covered it. I emailed Mr. Bernadette there, and unfortunately, there was a meeting going on that night concerning the flooding, and I was unable to attend at such short notice. But the whole parking garage thing that's going on there now, I mean, no one asked us, the ones that were going to be affected by these headlights in our bedroom windows coming and going all night long. No one asked us anything, you know, and all the beep, beep, beeps going on in the back of these dump trucks that are being parked over there. So I don't even know, I mean, who's looking out for the residents, the people who live there? I know our homes are not elaborate, but they're our homes. You know, we work just like everyone else. We just, you know, like I said, I'm not against the store. The flooding thing.
The dump trucks will be going away now, correct?
Pardon?
The dump trucks will be going away at this point, correct? Because now the store will fill.
I don't know who even approved them, but I mean, definitely that would be an improvement. But like I said, we never had a problem in Westwood and that area. The back of Westwood, yes, they have a huge problem with flooding. But up on the Charlton Road side, we never had a problem until that land was illegally elevated. And like I said, that's, you know, that needs to be addressed.
Yes, ma'am. I believe now with the new development, the truck parking lot is going away. The store will occupy that, and I think Mr. McCorkle is going to build his retention pond much larger than what he needs to try to help with the drainage issue.
I understand that. And like I said, and I do appreciate that part of it. I really do. But like I said, I'm not confident in the whole thing, because we're the ones that had, you know, everyone right there on Charlton Road on that side I mean, you know, like I said, it was going in our garage. And we never had that kind of problem until that land was elevated. There is a drainage ditch that goes in between 113 and 111 that drains over to that property. And when they built it up, drainage ditch couldn't run, I mean, water don't run uphill, you know? So, like I said, it's things that just need, I'm not against the store, I'm against the water that this costs as far as, you know, the elevation of that property. And if they're gonna have to build it up even more, what are we gonna do? You know?
That's right.
And I'm the only one here tonight, but everyone is upset. They're even talking about getting an attorney and this, I mean, you know, like I said, we're concerned about everything. It's, you know, our property values, our, you know, with all the extra water, you know. That's it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, ma'am, for your concerns.
Thank you.
Is there anyone? Yes, sir. If you will please come up and state your name for the record, please, sir.
My name is Gary Lander. I live around the corner from this property. I joined the property. One of several people that got a letter that I appreciate sent to us. We never got a letter the first time around when a rezoning occurred on that property, but we got one this time around. Appreciate that. I've got a lot of concerns. I tried to state most of them during the planning meeting that preceded this one, but instead of it being delayed until the end of the meeting, like I was led to believe it would be, it was sandwiched in between a lot of other stuff, and because of trying to keep momentum, I was kind of cut short. But I have the same concerns this lady had. The water, the rain, the stormwater control, I don't feel the county's got a grip on as it is right now, Westwood Heights. I haven't seen any significant improvements in the 45 years that I've lived there. It's gotten worse at the end of my street, and I feel like it's largely because of the water coming down McCall, coming down Charlton, and then coming down John Glenn Drive, where it tends to flood out the houses. Doesn't flood them out, but it comes real close to flooding out the houses at the intersection where Oglethorpe and John Glenn intersect. Okay? That's a big concern of mine too, is having my doubts, having reservations about the site plan, this detention pond, seeing is believing, I guess, but I also have other objections too. I don't know if anybody's given adequate consideration toward the increased traffic that's going to be coming down through John Glenn Drive and Oglethorpe and Charlton as a result of this store being so closely built to one of the 4 entrances of Westwood Heights. I have nothing against Dollar General. I have nothing against the Michaels. I just don't think that's the right fit for our community to have a store of that nature so close to a main entrance to where we live. We already have to put up with a lot of noises that have been approved as a result of decisions made by the planning department and the commissioners in the past, where you folks don't have to live with the decisions you make, but we're putting up with, in the past, outboard motors after they've been rebuilt, sounding like they're going to explode like a grenade, dump trucks full of gravel and rocks being dumped and then the tailgates being slammed, fumes from paint shops drifting into the neighborhood. This is all stuff that really should have been a little further away from a community as large as Westwood Heights, where there's hundreds of families living in it. But to put a Dollar Tree or any other retail store of any kind that close, right at an entrance practically, is, I feel like it's doing us a discredit rather than a benefit. I think there would be a whole lot more people here tonight than there are if the letter that had been sent out not only said something to the nature of the rezoning request, but also something that seems to be very important to all of you here tonight. As soon as you talk about a zone, like a B3 or something like that, the next thing that follows up is usage. You're concerned about usage. Well, the people that got the letter should have been just as concerned about usage too, and it could have been a couple added words in the letter saying this zoning request is going to be from AR1, AR2 to be B3 for the purpose of, and then say a Dollar Tree. This might be a packed house tonight if that language had been included. Because usage is just as important as the fact that you want to rezone it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. Usage. And I don't think it's a good fit to have it that close to our community. And another reason there might have been more people here tonight, if the sign out front had been accurate, instead of saying zoning from AR1 to AR2, that sounds pretty innocent on the surface, but it's not for AR1 to be AR2, it's to be B3. That's what the sign says. I'm concerned about the litter, I'm concerned about the noise, the people that are going to, the clientele that the Dollar General is going to attract. I feel really sorry for the closest 3 houses that are going to have to put up with the noise, and if a 6-foot picket fence is about all they're going to get, opposed to a 12-foot berm that the folks in Silverwood are going to get, or Chimney Road's going to get, that's a shame. That's a shame. It's really discounting the importance of the people that live in Westwood Heights. We're not as affluent as Silverwood is, perhaps, but we're still people with families, and we live there. We have to live there, and to dump that right on our front door, seems like it merits more consideration. That's all I have to say, pretty much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak against this rezoning request? Okay. I'm not seeing any. I will close the public hearing at this time. I will just ask staff, did we advertise?
We advertised in the paper, there's a sign. I drove by the sign, I didn't look at it closely enough to see if it was, what was on it, so I can't say either way if the sign is correct, but we did send letters to property, anyone owning property within 200 feet of what staff originally thought was the case, which was a much actually wider area. So we did capture more folks with this one because originally we thought there was a bigger rezoning going on, then we fixed that assumption. But the newspaper ad was in for both the planning board and the board of commissioners meetings, and we're confident those are correct. But the sign, I can't say whether that's correct or not. We'll check it tomorrow.
So the advertisement in the paper does note B3?
I believe so. I mean, we checked it. There were two sets of eyes looked at the ads before they went to the paper both times. And I'm pretty sure, I don't have the files with me. They're at the office, and that's where we have our copy. So I can't swear to that at this moment.
Where did you get the sign he's got?
I just recommend we table it.
Where's the sign?
The sign is out front. In fact, I have a picture of the sign. I don't have a close-up. I was in the parking lot across the street, and I saw that the sign was there, and I took a couple pictures. I don't know that I can zoom in now. It's not.
So B3 or what is it?
Is there any way we can verify the newspaper?
Oh, I mean, I can. The files are in our office, so I can do that. No,
Still with that sign.
Our attorney's letters on the table.
Well, there's 3 forms of advertisement. It's the notification of the letter to the adjoining property owners within 200 feet, and then it's the advertisement in the paper and the sign. Now, the advertisement in the paper is what we consider to be the legal advertisement. So we just need to make sure that that does note B3 rather than ARG.
Doesn't that kind of discriminate against people that don't subscribe to the newspaper though?
Should we check that?
3 forms,
Please.
sir.
Check the newspaper?
We could, I mean, I can
Yeah,
do
we
that
can do
tonight
that.
and do it tomorrow.
Take a minute to do that.
The sign ought to be right out.
Yeah.
You want me to go get it?
It won't take long. How long do you think we can do that?
I don't know if I can get into my files.
Is there a way we can verify the letters went out were correct?
If the attorney, if it'll satisfy him that we've advertised properly, I don't have a problem moving forward, but if we're not comfortable there, I don't, I'm not sure we've met legal requirements.
I mean, my personal opinion is I think we just need to table this to the next meeting. I think we'll verify this
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Sign in the paper.
Make a motion.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the public hearing's closed.
Make a motion to table into the next meeting.
Got a motion on the floor to table the next meeting by Mr. Burdette, and a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, we will table the next meeting, and I would like to tell the individuals that are here now for this item is, since this is tabled, this will be at 5 o'clock at the next meeting, November 3rd. So this will be at the very beginning of the next meeting.
Will that give us ample time to advertise again?
No, we don't have to.
Well,
If we verify.
if we verify everything was fine. So we just have to rely on.
It was
We
incorrect. We
can
got
set
to
code enforcement up tomorrow to look at the sign, and if the members are, if the letter members are, but we can change it tomorrow, so at least that will be fixed. But if we have to re-advertise, then it isn't that,
Additional.
that will, yeah.
I would like to also say that when the flooding was brought up last year, we did go out and I personally talked with engineers and went out and looked at it, and it is just a very, very flat piece of land. Without redoing the entire neighborhood, there's not a lot we can do out there. And I will say having a detention pond on this piece of property will help some of that. Because right now there's nothing there. So that will give us some help. I'm not going to say anything else about it tonight, because we're going to talk about it later. And I will also say that I thought, and it was my understanding, that this property was being used for storage and not for truck parking.
I think truck parking was the previous. That's the way I interpreted
It was
it.
like boat storage and just different campers I saw out there. I never knew that had.
It started with campers, and the gentleman, I think, had a trucking company, one parked on it, put it there or something like that.
So they started leasing
I remember
space.
a chain or something.
I don't know, it was in there.
It was like, we lived on a construction site for the last 2 years.
I didn't know that.
Now, one thing too, I do want to add, and I know I'm getting off, but a comment to that now, are you referring next to the ball field? Because when we were resurfacing McCall Road, we did use that as a drop-down area.
No, she's talking about, there's a little path that goes back there, and there is a storage area that was originally developed just to be like a boat storage and camper and things like, Richard Miller.
It was a field, it was just an empty
Right, it
agricultural.
sounds like it's morphed into something.
Correct.
never let anybody else talk.
Yeah, we got a public hearing closed, and we'll verify the advertising, and this will come back to old business at our next meeting, first Tuesday in November. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on to item number 11. The planning board recommends approving an application by Tabitha Moyak, sorry if I mispronounced that, agent for Jeannie Frymuth, to rezone 5 acres located at 230 Savannah Town Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 264, parcel number 10A in the 3rd district.
So the applicant wishes to rezone the 5 acres. The 5 acres is currently zoned AR1, which is correct, but in order to, because her plan is to split that, she has to rezone the entire 5 acres to AR2, and then the intention is to split it into 3 and 2 acre parcels. And this is the proposed, proposed plat. So the rear parcel, which will be 3 acres, does have an access easement from Savannah Town Road, and staff has reviewed this and recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this rezoning request? All right, seeing none, is there anyone here speaking against this rezoning request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Are there any questions or concerns from the board on this request? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve this request with staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Deloach, and I have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 12, the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Tabitha Moyak, agent for Jeannie Fryma to rezone 5 acres located at 230 Savannah Town Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 264, parcel number 10A in the 3rd District. I make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Deloach, a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 13. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Tom and Renee Peterson for a variance located at 1964 Highway 17 North to allow for a 30-foot access easement, map number 269, parcel number 20A in the 3rd District.
This is related to a variance that came before you a year ago in April, and staff actually recommended denial, and I'll explain that. So the applicant, the owner of the parcel that the yellow arrow is pointed towards, purchased it and received a variance from the board last year to have a 30-foot access easement. And it did get tabled, and actually some stipulations were added, and those are the stipulations that tonight's applicant is asking to be removed. The rear parcel is zone AR1, and actually their intention is to split off a couple of acres for a home site for their the owner's daughter and family. So on the surface, there's nothing wrong with this application at all. However, because it did go through some extra scrutiny last year when the variance request for a 30-foot access easement was requested and extra stipulations were added, and I will read them. Let's see. Oh, that the 30-foot access easement be for the sole use of the parcel and no splits. And that, in fact, if any parcels were split off of it, that it be enlarged to 60-foot easement. Because of that, staff felt that we really couldn't recommend overturning that. Those were sound stipulations. Of course, you all have the right to consider other options than the staff. We felt that we really had to stick to the letter because there was a reason for adding those stipulations at the time. The planning board expressed support for the family in the sense that a 30-foot access easement to a large acreage behind homes on the road is really a way of protecting the integrity of that neighborhood to ensure that no intensive development happens behind those homes. So that's a really good point. It's not something we felt we could take into consideration, but it's what the planning board took into consideration. So staff are recommended to no, but the planning board is recommending approval.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am. Y'all will please come up to the microphone, and whoever speaks, just state your name for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Renee Peterson. This is my husband Tom Peterson and my son Marcus Peterson. His wife Amanda spoke at the last meeting, the planning board meeting. When we bought this property over a year ago, it was our intent to build a home for my husband and I, who are moving here to be near our grandchildren, and then to build another home for my son and his wife and their now 2 children that they have. And that was always the intent. It was always the intent to have 2 homes there. And in order to be able to do that, and in order for my son to be able to have a mortgage to pay for his home, we simply needed to draw a line and divide his acreage off. But in order to do that, we were told that we needed to now ask for a 60-foot easement from our neighbors, the Starlings. Now, our neighbors are wonderful people, and they would be happy to simply sign over a 60-foot easement, except for the fact that that 60-foot easement would go right up next to their home. And although they know that we don't have any other plans for this, for our property, they are concerned that allowing a 60-foot easement would sometime in the future, in case we were ever to move and someone else were to live there, that another owner would do something else with that 60-foot easement. And so that's why we were here asking for you to approve that we could build the 2 homes like we had always intended to do, but be able to draw that line so that my son and his wife can mortgage that piece of property for their home.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I would just like to add, we've done considerable expense. We had to get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers for a road to go through wetlands. Georgia Power's already run the power lines back there for 2 homes, okay? We've already done the perk test. You know, from when I started this project, came down from West Virginia before I ever put an offer in. And maybe it was, didn't ask the right questions potentially, but I went in and checked flood maps, zoning, told everybody along the whole process, at the closing table, everything, exactly what was going to happen and what our plan was. And, you know, now we're kind of in this situation and just hoping that, you know, you can see clear to give us the go-ahead for this particular project. At the previous meeting, Mr. Starling was here, you know, to support this plan. You know, we've done everything that we said we were going to do from day one. We have not changed our plans at all from what we communicated to various people throughout the whole process. So hopefully, you know, you'll see what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak against this rezoning request? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, concerns from the commissioners?
This is a variance, right, not a rezoning? This one?
Excuse me, yes. Any questions on the variance that's being requested? You're correct.
It just looks like it's a landlocked piece of land they're trying to split.
Yeah.
And it has to be a 60-foot easement.
Further subdivision.
That's the standard, but the extenuating circumstances both the planning board and the Petersons just expressed are that it actually potentially protects that surrounding area from intensive development back there if the property were to change hands. So it is a good point. It's not something I felt that, you know, we felt that we could take into consideration.
Sure.
Just because the stipulation.
I've always been supportive of variance like this with family.
And the neighbors are obviously on board with granting access, so it seems like everybody around's on the same page. Any other questions, concerns from anyone? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve this variance.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Deloach, got a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion for the variance carries unanimously, so we will go to the second reading. Consider item number 14, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Tom and Renee Peterson for a variance located at 1964 Highway 17 North to allow for a 30-foot access easement, map number 269, parcel number 28 in the 3rd District. I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Deloach, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Second reading is passed unanimously. Moving on to item number 15. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Tom and Renee Peterson to rezone 3.72 acres out of 32.513 acre parcel located at 1964 Highway 17 North from AR1 to AR2, map number 269, parcel number 28 in the 3rd District.
So this, of course, is related to the variance request, and it is 3.72 acres, which means it has to be rezoned from AR1 to AR2. Staff recommends approval. We did add stipulation, which now is moved, but that conditions 2 and 3, which you just removed, relating to the access easement from the April 2nd, 2019 variance shall be met unless removed by the Board of Commissioners, which you just did.
Okay. All right.
I hate to ask a question on the last thing. I'm not sure what we approved. Did we approve the 60-foot easement there, or did we?
Approve the 30-foot.
The variance from the 60-foot.
Yeah, approve the variance from 60 to the 30-foot.
Because the alternatives were to eliminate conditions.
Yeah, the conditions were from last year. 2 conditions were added last year to the variance. So the variance request last year was for 30-foot easement, and there were specific conditions last year stating that it had to be, the 30-foot easement could only serve one property, and if it were split, it had to be expanded to 60.
So this allows them to do the 30-foot.
You all just allow them to take those away, to keep their 30 as a right.
Sorry, I just got confused.
If they were gonna break it up into 5 homes and sell lots, I would have a different position, obviously.
Well, they couldn't do that with
Yeah.
30 feet anyway, could they?
Why not?
You couldn't do that with a 30-foot easement, could you?
They would have to
Not
come
without
back for you for variance.
So this
Not without the same
sticks to 30-foot easement and allows for 2 home sites.
That's right. Good. Okay, so this one is a public hearing for the rezoning. If y'all want to come back up, that's fine, or, okay. Anyone here wish to speak against this? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Any questions, concerns from the board on this rezoning request? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the rezoning request.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Deloach, a second by Commissioner Burdette to approve. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion to rezone carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 16, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Tom and Renee Peterson to rezone 3.72 acres out of a 32.513 acre parcel located at 1964 Highway 17 North from AR1 to AR2, map number 269, parcel number 28 in the 3rd District. I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Deloach, second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, before you move forward on number 15, you said to approve it. Are you approving it with planning board and staff recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, y'all are good. All right, moving on to item number 17. The planning board recommends approving an application by Michael Chanette for a variance located at 102 Madeline Grove Way, which is Jackson Run subdivision, to reduce the rear building setback from 25 feet to 10 feet to screen in an existing patio, map number 369H, parcel number 2, in the 4th District.
So as you can see, this are the blue highlighted parcel is quite shallow. It's about 120 feet deep. And actually, when the building permit was being reviewed last year, they proposed to put in a patio, and we actually added conditions that, you know, you cannot enclose that patio, it's encroaching into the setback. The slab is okay for the patio, but you can't enclose it. So we made a note in the building permit application approval comment section, just as a future reference. And of course, a year later, the homeowner wants to have a screened porch. Of course they do. So this triggered the variance request. But it is a shallow lot, and the parcel behind it is actually a surface mine. And so there's woods behind the house, and then there's a surface mine, and there's Courthouse Road and so it's not harming anyone. There's no homeowner behind. Seems like just an easy kind of variance to recommend approval on, and we were able to recommend approval.
Okay, all right, very good. This is a public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak for this rezoning or for this variance? Please state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Mike Chanette. I'm the property owner. So as mentioned, our lot is fairly narrow. Don't have a lot of room in the back, but there is a 14 by 21 foot patio there, and we're basically requesting to be able to close it with a screen porch. So that's our request.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Anyone here wishing to speak against the variance? All right. Hearing none or seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any questions, concerns from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve planning board and staff recommendation.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve the variance request. and a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 18, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Michael Chenette for a variance located at 102 Madeline Road Way, Jackson Run subdivision, to reduce the rear building setback from 25 feet to 10 feet to screen in an existing patio, map number 369H, parcel number 2 in the 4th District.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve the second reading. Have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 19. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Effective Images, agent for Love's Travel Stop, for a variance located at the corner of Highway 21 South and Ron Station Road to waive the maximum height and square footage limits for signage, map number 429, parcel number 6 in the 4th District.
So we've already approved the rezoning, you've approved the speed reduction on Ron Station Road, and now we're at the sign stage. So the original sign, high-rise sign was 50 feet high and quite large. So we worked with the applicant to bring that down to something closer to our ordinance requirements. Our ordinance for signs has a 30-foot height limit, which has so far not really been an issue. In fact, if you remember a few months ago, you approved the Georgia International Trade Center sign, which was only 30 foot high. And they kept it at that, but they went bigger on the actual lettering portion. In this case, the applicant wishes to go just a little above our 30-foot limit because of sightline issues, of safety for truckers moving into the turn lane. I mean, they made the same argument, in fact, that the Gitsy folks made. The Gitsy had just had the ability to have better sightline, so they could stick with the 30-foot instead of bigger letters. In this case, because of trees, the applicant felt like they really needed just a little bit more height for their sign, total height, from ground to the top, and a larger area to be able to display the sign there on the left, which is including the price and the various outlets that will be, the food and the retail store that will be there. So we looked at other signage across the street, the Chevron, and then further along in different parts of, in fact, across the street at Georgia Transformer, which is really large lettering. And then I've got the Georgia International Trade Center on there as well. So Highway 21 at different stages has a lot of, it has billboards, it has signs of different intensities. So with all of that and taking into account the safety concerns expressed by the applicant, we felt that their revised application came as close as it could to meeting our needs and their needs, and it was a sound compromise. So at that, we recommend approval of the variance.
Okay, all right, very good. So we have some folks here for this. If y'all would like to come up and make some comments, please state your name for the record.
William Gleason, Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores out of Oklahoma City, and we're here to, like staff said, we've worked very closely to try to work with it, and we feel that the 35-foot tall sign, because as you're coming up from Rincon, tractor trailer is going to be 13.6 on the height. We needed to have our sign so if somebody's in the right-hand lane, they can see the sign and get over, and that 35 feet will get us, we think, visibility where somebody can get over their emergency and get over to the turn lane. What we want is a safe, clean environment out there. So we don't want somebody getting into a wreck because they're making all of a sudden can't see it and they turn over into the left lane. I think that's, we've reduced the other signage in height as far as to meet the code that we could, so that you want the truckers to be able to turn in where they're supposed to, and we segregate the cars and the trucks till they go to their different areas in the travel stop. And yeah, I'd be glad to answer any questions at all.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody here wish to speak against this request? I thought we had somebody speaking against. So, man, you're sitting by each other the whole time. Okay, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Are there any questions, concerns from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve order number 1, that's moving this 30 feet to 35 feet in height, from 100 square feet to 391 feet, 0.84 square foot.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Loper, a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries unanimous. We'll move on to the second reading now. Item number 20, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Effective Images, agent for Love's Travel Stop, for a variance located at the corner of Highway 21 South and Ron Station Road to waive the maximum height and square footage limits for signage, map number 429, parcel number 6 in the 4th District.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve the second reading. I have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. All right, guys, all good. Moving on to our last items here. Item number 21. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Andrea Allsbrook to rezone a 5-acre parcel located at 851 Ebenezer Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 446, parcel number 33 in the 4th District.
So this is current zones, AR1, it's 5 acres, it's perfectly appropriate, but the owners wish to have the option to subdivide, and so therefore the 5 acres has to be rezoned to AR2. We're not entirely certain of the eventual layout or how many parcels. There's some discussion of breaking it into 3. There's some discussion of joining with a parcel on the far end and creating an access. So we don't have a complete site plan, but as this is just a rezoning.
Where are the mission?
As this is just rezoning, we felt like we were able to consider it just on the merits of rezoning. It's AR1, it's 5 acres, they want to split it, so treat them like everybody else. As we were getting phone calls about this in the early stages from realtors, or just there was a lot of interest, it became evident that the plat, the really old plat from 1976, which is not really very easy to read or anything, but it does show what's called a drainage ditch along the back. And it's labeled drainage ditch, and we don't know if it's easement, we don't know who owns it, there's no records that we can find of it being maintained by the county. We have no idea what this is, except that the plat of record shows a drainage ditch. So one of the first phone calls I received was from a realtor who asked what would they need to do in order to be able to fill it, to develop it. And at that point I referred that question to our engineers, and they all said that it would need to be reviewed and an engineering study would have to be done, because it's right next to Cobbleton, and while that might not be the responsibility of this parcel owner, there's a regional drainage issue at stake here. So as you see here in the zoning map, that's Cobbleton right behind it, and in fact their pond is right there. Let's see, right here, their large pond. So it's fairly clear that water can flow, along the ditch into the pond, or from the pond into the ditch, potentially. So, even though it is only rezoning and we're able to recommend approval, we did add a stipulation that the site development shall be designed to maintain or improve the existing drainage conveyance system through the property to adjacent properties, and must be approved by county engineering before issuing any building permits. And that's just a simple check that in the future, once the subdivision takes place of the parcel into 2 or a total of 3, that we will give it a little extra scrutiny at the building permit stage, because we know there's a drainage ditch that connects to a more regional drainage infrastructure there.
Okay. All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would you like to speak on behalf? Just state your name, please, sir.
My name is Walt Waters. I'm Andrea's Allsbrook's brother. So His property was my mom's property. She passed away, left it to us. There's 4 of us that own it together as an estate. My brother owns the other 2 lots on the other end there, and so we are asking to be able to subdivide. We've had it surveyed for an acre to be cut off the end, that they're going to just join to his current lots. They're on the end. So he has 2 half-acre lots there. That would make that 2 1-acre lots as he combines those. That's what we're asking to do. Now, was the stipulation put on at the last meeting, or is that something?
That was in the staff report at the last meeting. We discussed that at the last meeting. The county engineer was present at the last meeting. He explained it, but I mean, this is just like with the Terramore. I mean, we want to make sure that regional drainage is taken into account. It's not just parcel by parcel.
Yeah, and I met walk on site and looked, and it's the ditch. Where? And I never,
So
where does it end?
It ends,
Where does it go?
I'm suppose it ends just, you know, it probably ends at, what's the big subdivision down there? It probably
Ramsey Landing.
probably ends in somebody's backyard at Ramsey's Landing, I'm not real sure. The
I don't
ditches,
think it has to come out at Ebenezer Road, but I guess it don't.
well, Ramsey's Landing's in between there. Well, I don't know, I don't know, I see what you're saying, but, you know, I'm not here to ask anything about the drainage ditch.
All you want to do is get it rezoned.
We want it zoned so we can attach that to thing. The drainage ditch is a contention that we have lots of questions about on how the subdivision was able to do that, and that my mom's not here to speak on that, but that is a discussion for another time, I think.
We've dug, I don't know of any answer, you know.
So that's still a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, what we're asking to do is rezone from AR1 to AR2 so that we can, and we have, like say, Mr. Fulcher has already done the survey, so we can cut 1 acre off to add to his property. So that's what we're asking.
Okay.
We don't have any plans to do any development in there.
Okay, all right, thank you. We're not seeing anyone else here with us. There's no one here to speak against this, so I will close the public hearing. I will ask, got to ask folks on the phone.
Yeah.
So, if there's anyone on the phone that would like to speak against this, please let us know.
We have
Okay, nobody there, so all right, I will officially close the public hearing now. Are there any questions or concerns from the board at this time?
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to item number 22, the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Andrea Allsbrook to rezone a 5-acre parcel located at 851 Ebenezer Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 446, parcel number 33 in the 4th District.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Loper to approve the second reading. Got a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Need for executive session? There are none. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Burdette made a motion to adjourn. I think that was Commissioner Loper second that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.